Yeah, he got in with Trevor Jamieson, our trainer, on Sunday, Monday. I mean, he's had this before, so he's been very diligent on his recoveries. Lower leg injury. There's nothing structural. Um, so I guess we'll just see. I mean, I don't. We did a light practice yesterday. He didn't. He didn't do anything. I would anticipate. I would be surprised if he plays. I'll just put it that way. Not saying something couldn't change. Those things can go. They can change pretty rapidly sometimes. But I'm not holding. We're not holding our breath.
This is the same ankle that he injured in the summer?
Yeah. Yeah, so he's dealt with this before. He knows what it is. Raleigh's as tough as they come. I mean, he's a competitive guy. And when he went down, against Arizona State, just kind of how he reacted and watching him, and you see him, it's if he can't go, it's probably not a great thing because he's one that'll power through it typically.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
You already talked about a couple weeks ago, losing Gabe, obviously, and trying to kind of reinvent yourself a little bit. Raleigh's kind of been much more of an integral part of that, obviously, with how he facilitates the floor. How do you? I mean, does Will step into that, or where's kind of your direction there?
Raleigh does so many things for us. I mean, obviously, he's had an outstanding year overall. Obviously, he's our primary ball handler. He's one of our best defensive players. He's just one of those guys. He's one of our few veteran guys with real experience coming into the season. And, he's got a great voice. And you know what he is? He's just a steadying force for our team. He's just a rock. And he's one of those guys that everybody knows when you ask who do you like playing with? And this isn't a like who's your favorite or who's your buddy or your bestie or your buddy ball or who do you love to play with? And almost every guy will say Raleigh. So I think that says something. So yeah, it's a big. I mean, he does a lot for us in a lot of different ways. And the other thing is just he's so versatile in what he can do defensively. He can guard almost anybody out there. So. The combination of losing the two of them, and I wouldn't anticipate either one of those guys playing this week. It changes things. So we got to kind of, it's a fine line of reinventing yourself in game 29, and then just figuring out who can fulfill what roles. And everything's in play right now. I mean, everybody's in play like always, and everything's in play. So. We've had a lot of staff meetings here the last couple days and, doing a few things different and then just really locking into who can be successful in what situations.
Good.
John, are you running this show?
With senior night coming Saturday, will any players be walking, as it were?
Yeah, so we're going to honor all of our seniors. So we haven't, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago, somebody asked, how are you going to, and you know what, with COVID and just everything going on with all that stuff, we've just decided, anybody that's a senior. So Marco Anthony's obviously done with his eligibility. Brandon Carlson is going to graduate. Boston Holt is going to graduate. Jackson Brenchley is going to graduate. And Eli Ballstead's going to graduate. So those 5 guys we're going to honor before the game.
Should we read anything into it?
No.
As far as returning or not?
No. Not that I know of.
Aside from Marco.
Correct. Who's done with his eligibility. Those conversations will happen after the year with the other 4 guys.
Correct. With some regular season games left, plus the Pac-12 tournament, plus the presumptive postseason berth. Do you still expect Gabe to show up at some point this season?
Yeah, I think he will. I mean, he's making good progress, and honestly, the biggest thing with Gabe is tell him not to do too much. And we knew that would be what his mindset would be. So I would anticipate him being back at some point. It's just, what is that? Is it, I would be shocked if it's this week, but I'm not, like, anything could happen. Could it be next week, of course, and then obviously the conference tournament. So it'll be 1 month on Saturday.
What a way to end the home docket here with 2 of the top 3 teams in the Pac-12. How big a week is this, and what would it mean to be able to knock one of those guys?
It'd be huge. UCLA is ranked number 4 in the country, and they're number 4 in the net, and obviously they're on top of the league right now, and they're really, really good. and USC is number 56 in the net. And, they were playing, those two teams have been elite at home. USC was playing outstanding basketball. It beat UCLA at home at USC. And then they kind of ran into a little bit of a injury bug. Morgan missed a few games with an ankle. And Reese Dixon, who's like kind of a microwave off the bench, can really get it going. He missed some time. I'm not sure exactly what his injury was. And that's when they kind of lost a couple games there, got swept up in Oregon and so on and so forth. So, but, quad 1 game and a quad 2 game, and a lot to be decided still in the Pac-12 in terms of the regular season standings. And so there's a lot in play still. And we still, if we can make some noise, we still got to, Colorado right now is a quad 1 game at Colorado. And then anything can happen in the conference tournament. So the way the schedule presents itself, we still have opportunities to play ourselves into some things. So it's a big weekend for us, obviously. And I know, both schools have great brand, have name recognition and a great brand, so to speak. And so, it'll be a tough test, but it's exciting to be able to play this at home. And then obviously on senior night, those 5 guys we talked about have been outstanding. They're great people and great players, and hopefully we'll have a good crowd both those night. The fans impact winning, and we're going to need every one of them.
That number 4 seeding, how important is it? I mean, they've had it in the past and still didn't do much good, but to have that first round bye in the tournament, is that the primary goal right now?
I mean, yeah, we want to, the primary goal is to be the best that we can be, and whatever happens, happens. However, it matters. I mean, you have to win one less game. You know what I mean? And then the depth with us, especially, just not knowing where a couple of our guys are going to be and who knows what can happen, as we move forward. But if you can play one less game and you only have to win 3 versus 4, it's 25%, right? So it matters. Winning 3 games in 3 days is really difficult. Winning 4 is even harder, although it's been done before, so it doesn't mean it can't be done again. But we just got to I loved how we played against Arizona State with the exception of our turnovers, right? And obviously that's a big one. But we did some really, really good things that night, especially with losing Raleigh. Some guys really stepped in and did some good things. So we just got to keep playing good basketball. We've been pretty good at home with the exception of one night, maybe 2. And so hopefully we can garner some momentum here going into March.
Craig, when you get to this point in the season, guys are banged up, not just here, but
Yeah.
all over the place. Plus you have 2 starters down. Do you drastically alter what you do in practice just to try and keep guys fresh and keep guys healthy?
We've changed a few things over the last month. Just going a little bit lighter. I've done a lot of communication with our sports science team starting this summer. I've never been out of school with a sports science team, but it's been good. Like our strength coach Logan Ogden is very analytically driven, and we have a lot of research from over the years where we've worked together. So it's been 4.5 years now. And then with some of our other people in the department are incredibly smart in seeing trends with injuries and whatnot. Durability has been a bit of an issue, right? Last year, some flukish things, right? Gabe's collapsed lung, and Deshaun had his knee, and BC with appendicitis. So those are just kind of some flukish things. We've had a lot of lower leg injuries. So you're looking at, with load management, when, are there coincidences when they happen? Some, Gabe's deal is just what it is. He just kind of landed on a funky, awkward, right? So injuries are a part of it. So we've really been diligent looking into those sorts of things. And we'll do it again this summer. So you're always looking to see, are there, what it is. But now you get to the point too, where you're just, Luka and Boston, their durability have been up and down. They've missed times and not times. So for them to sustain anything has been a little bit difficult. So, obviously we sat on a scholarship. We had a couple guys in the hopper late. One just couldn't get the grades that he needed to qualify to get accepted into the school. And I've always been a guy, I'm not just going to settle for a guy. And we've had some of our best players getting him late, like Namish Keita at Utah. We got him late, right? And so I'm willing to roll the dice a little bit to get a home run, right? If we feel like our roster's in place. So I know I'm running on here. So what do we do in this point? We've trimmed it down a little bit, but yet you still got to get your work done, right? You can't just not do anything, meaning like just no non-contact. I think you got to get guys into a flow. Will, Boston, Luca, Mike, Jackson, guys that haven't, they got to get a flow with some of the guys that have played a lot of minutes. So you got to be diligent about it. We have cut some things back, but you still got to get your work in. And I think I've always been, as a head coach, very cognizant of, more championships are lost by overtraining, right, than just getting in and doing what you need to do and get out. So you got to be smart about that. And we have technology that helps us with that.
I don't know if I can say his name out loud, but you referenced you were trying to get somebody in the school late. Would that have been a big change in terms of depth? Do you think things might be different right now if that had?
There was a few guys, to be quite frank. When we didn't get the one guy, we had another guy, but there was a snafu that we couldn't make it happen as well. So I don't know if it would have made a huge difference or not. The one guy, a couple of our assistants, as soon as they walked him, was like, this guy has a legit chance to be an NBA player. So, that's coming from two of our assistant coaches. So, yeah, it could always help, right? When you get to this point, depth matters, right? So, but anyway, it is what it is. Like, that's in the past, and we'll see what happens.
Did you get back into town in time to enjoy the All-Star Sunday?
We got into town Saturday night, but I wasn't really in the mood. I just watched a lot of USC and UCLA, and they don't play any defense in the All-Star game anyway. I did want to get up here to see. It just didn't work out. The G League All-Star game with Nemish. Playing in that would have been cool to see him again. I always love watching him play, and he's doing great things. Really excited about his future.
Greg, last week you talked about really owning up what you guys are best at, and that was defense.
Yeah.
Do you kind of have that same mindset this week, or things change? Every week's obviously evolving. How does that work?
Yeah, this team's a little bit different. This team, it's like a lot of times, and I've talked to our staff about this. When we really, certain things that we really hone in on and really try, I think our team usually does a really good job, but then we get some slippage in other areas. And I know that's kind of a normal thing to some extent, but I feel like there can be a lot of slippage in certain areas. So we always got to be able to defend. You play in UCLA, and they defend at an elite level. Like, scoring is going to be hard to come by in that game. And USC is good too. They're the fifth biggest team in the country. So it's kind of one of those things. We got to be able to manufacture points. We got to be able to cut down our turnovers versus what we did against Arizona State. But I think this week, it's obviously we have to defend. We have to rebound. BC didn't play against UCLA. We got pounded on the. I don't know that we got just pounded on the glass, but it felt like every time they got an offensive rebound, they scored. Whether it was just a putback dunk, kick out, wide open standstill three. And certainly with BC out, just Keba playing the center and Ben, we were a little bit undersized. And so, and Bona's humongous. He is just a massive presence in there. So, but the other part this week is just really like getting guys, getting Will like really acclimated, right, with some of our guys. Boston, right, and some of these guys that haven't played a whole lot of minutes in real game time, trying to get them in a flow with guys like BC and Ben and Marco and Steph, whereas maybe they don't get many of those reps in practice typically, but they need to get some reps with those guys to try to find a rhythm to what we're doing and really kind of shrinking the playbook maybe a little bit. So to make sure these guys know exactly what's going on and what we need to do in specific sets and in our continuities.
Craig, at the risk of beating a dead horse, why isn't Mike Saunders playing more? That's a question a lot of us get asked. So
yeah, he's just got to get better. He's just got to be better, more consistent, and produce, right? Just like any guy. I don't care if it's what their name is, right? They got to be dependable. They got to be able to produce and impact winning consistently. And so whether it's, Mike or Jackson or Marco or whomever it might be, but but everybody's got an opportunity to go out there and perform, and when you get that opportunity, you got to seize that moment.
Talk about Will and Kaba because they have been thrown into the mix a
Yeah.
little bit more. What kind of improvements have you seen from them as the years?
I thought I feel like, like typical freshmen, that you go through some ups and downs, and every time you turn, you don't know what to expect. And I feel like since the bye week, like since the Cal game, especially, because I thought they weren't maybe playing as well or performing as well as they had been at times. I felt like they kind of maybe had hit a wall at that point. So I don't know if it was the bye week allowed them to just kind of recalibrate. Maybe it helped them just kind of focus on what really matters or what have you. But those two have played very well since then. I thought Cabo was very good against Arizona State, but he had some foul issues. Right, got his fourth foul after playing about a minute and a half in the second half. But he did some great things. And then Will was really good, played great against Arizona, played very well against Arizona State as well. So I just think maybe you just get that point where you start figuring things out. You get confidence. It's like, oh, I got this, right? The game slows down a little bit. And so hopefully that trend will continue as we move forward because we need them both.